Development Corporation Board meeting for Monday, June 29th, 2026. This board does have a quorum. So, public comment. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the board from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to make a statement of factual information. Claims against the board or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for citizens forum. Consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single action of the board, with such approval applicable to all items appearing on the consent agenda. A member may request any item to be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Minutes of EDC meeting 5/14 of 26. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes from 5/14/26? Do I have a, yeah?
I move we approve minutes from 5/14/26.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, public hearing, we're gonna open public hearing at 6:04 PM. By the way, we opened the meeting at 6:01. Sorry about that. Public hearing, the purpose of this hearing is to hear comments for or against a request made by the Spot Pizza and Pub to provide existing business structure assistance for the business located at 114 Houston Street, Mount Vernon, Texas, 75457. Would you like to speak? Are you signed up to speak?
He signed up.
Did I sign up? Thank you. Yes, what we're asking for is assistance on the roof repairs, and really it's sealing the whole roof and anything that needed to be repaired, because we needed a new AC unit, and the curb AC on the roof was not built correctly the last time, so we needed to do some repairs in order to accommodate the new AC, and also the new AC that goes back in our kitchen. We have two AC units, one in the kitchen and one in the lobby, and so we were asking for assistance on that. We did get multiple bids on everything on the roof repairs and on the AC units. Roof repair was done by a company out of Sulphur Springs, and then the AC unit done by CNS Air Conditioning. We got 3 bids on that.
Robert, what was the project total on that? The total that was 28 something, correct?
26,863.
28.6.
Let me look where it's written on here. Yeah. 26,863.
Thank you.
And tell me again what that includes. It's the roof.
The whole roof, repairing it, like sealing it, any leaks that it had. It had big leaks. We didn't know if it was coming from the water district or from us, so we went ahead and replaced that whole fascia board on it, and then did the cap the correct way. The cap was just on top, so when the rain came from the north, that metal was not hanging over, I'm sorry, and the water would just go in there, and that whole front plank up there was rotten, and you can see we put the new, to match the water district, kind of put a cap on it, and then all throughout the roof sealed it, and then the new curb around the new AC unit had to be redone. Called a roof curb around AC unit.
Do you have any questions?
And just to be clear, probably because of the age of the roof or the building, it's probably not covered under insurance.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And the roof was just, we've had different things. We were told 2014, and we were told 2016, I believe, that they put a new roof on it. It's a metal roof. The roof's in good condition. It was just a matter of the curb and then a couple of like I said, that front part was all rotten. That it's a I'm not a craftsman, but a 2x6 kind of casing or something like a was all rotten. So what the rain was doing was coming in this corner, running down there and coming into the building, and on that side. And then around the AC units, there's a curb that's built to have the water run away from them. And they were made of wood. So over the years, they had rotten. So we made them the correct way.
Big-
So that's the old unit I'm seeing on top of the building right now, is that what?
Yeah, the first one is old. The one in the kitchen was brand new.
Okay.
And that one had gone out completely, right?
Yes.
The kitchen unit had completely.
Had gone
been
out.
worked.
Yeah.
So you've already done all the repairs?
Yes.
All these are proposing, okay.
Yes. Ray paid for them and everything.
Oh, so you've done everything to the roof already?
We had to, because with all the rain that was coming in, it was just creating more damage.
Of course.
And then, of course, with the heat coming, our cooks were not very happy back there in that kitchen. It was sometimes 130, so we had to move kind of quickly.
So the first one from CNS, that's an air conditioning unit.
Yes.
And then the one from JNS,
That's an air conditioning unit. I went with CNS, one local company. I think it was a little higher, like a couple $100.
Okay.
But I felt with the warranty, me having to get a Dallas company to come out here and warranty stuff, and I've used CNS on all my other air conditioning, my houses, my truck wash and stuff. I've used them for
gotcha.
years.
So when I first looked at this, I didn't know that if you were getting these approved first. So you've already paid roughly this amount to CNS for their.
I've played the whole thing, yeah, and the 9,500 for the roof.
Okay, but not the JNS. That one's just a quote that was.
Yeah, it says attach quotes, so I
Gotcha,
attached
gotcha.
the quotes.
Typically, this is done before repairs, but given that
You had to
the air
move.
conditioner was out in the kitchen and.
Yeah, got to move quick in a restaurant.
Yeah, it had to be done. I said, go ahead and do it and submit your application.
And the water, like I said, the water was coming in. Every time it rained, that we'd get it from the corner of the building of the water district. We'd have a puddle, probably 4 foot by 3 foot.
And what's our match capability on this, Mark, Craig?
100%. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about that when we get to the items to be considered. That's
Well, I
okay.
don't, we're just kind of combining them a little. Gotcha.
Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing at 6:11 PM. Thank you, Robert. Yes, sir, appreciate you. Items to be considered. Consider the Pap Dawson proposal, and I'm gonna let Craig speak to this a little bit because I'm not super familiar with it.
Okay, this is Pape Dawson is actually purchased KSA Engineering about a year ago, and but they're still KSA. So this is a proposal from them to actually do the land planning of the North Corridor project, the 250 acres that goes from the north from 37 to Gatlin, and then from the school district all the way south to the service road, the one that we're very familiar with, the one that we've worked on and participated in over the last couple of years. This also includes the land planning around 75 acres that is owned by the city of Mount Vernon around City Lake for a future housing project there. The total of those two is approximately $45,000. We are proposing to the EDC that we approach this as we did with the strategic plan and some other plans that we have done with partnership with the city, with the EDC, and with the Industrial Foundation. At the last council meeting, the city approved participation 100% into this on a cost share basis. It'd be about $15,000 for each entity. The Industrial Foundation, they haven't met yet. I've talked to Lynn about that. He's looked at it favorably. He feels like the Industrial Foundation we'll follow suit with that because everybody wants to get housing going. The end result of this is we'll actually have a layout of housing and mixed-use development on the North Corridor side and housing around the lake, something that is tangible, something that we can take to a developer and say, here, partner with us, and let's build these houses. The other thing with Pape Dawson is that this is an area of specialty that they have, and they already have a number of developers that they work with, and they felt like they could also bring this to us. The prices that we're getting on this are remarkably reasonable. For the North Corridor, it's $31,000. For the lake, it's $14,000, and that's just unbelievable. This is a $100,000 project, so we're getting a really good deal here. The other thing about this is their representative, person that's over this particular project, is Prentice Reeves, and y'all know Lily Bush Reeves, and y'all know Nathan Reeves. That's Nathan's son. So it's got a local connection with a local interest. So it's, like I said, the council's already approved it. I would like the EDC to consider participation in it, and we can move forward with this. We need the housing. We need to get going on this project. And this is the next logical step in the entire process.
You said I see 31,500 is what, when I read through this, seemed
Yeah.
like that was the estimate. But I heard you also say 45,000, and then I heard you say 31,000 for the North Corridor and 14,000 for the lake. Is that?
Here's the $14,000 proposal. It didn't get included in the packet.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, got it. That makes sense.
There's two separate proposals, and they would start on the 250-acre one would be the one that they would start on first.
Okay, so I did hear you right. I just didn't have
You did.
everything.
You did.
Okay.
It was probably my oversight that it didn't get included in the packet.
And you said the city approved this, but the city approved the ability for us and the Industrial Foundation to share the cost. The city did not approve anything for them to
No.
bear some cost.
No,
or did-
they're 100% in. They're $15,000 in 100%.
Okay, so 15,
third of the
15, and
cost.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like the city would probably, if the Industrial Foundation said no, I feel like the city would probably pick up the 2/3 of the cost. But I have no reason to think the Industrial Foundation doesn't want to be a part of this.
So what all would you expect to come out of this study? I mean, would it be the streets platted?
Yes,
I mean,
the streets,
what all
the
would they
infrastructure,
actually do?
the streets, the infrastructure platted, a layout, a schematic layout on where the housing, the type of housing, where that's going to be, the type of businesses that are in there, where those businesses are going to be, how those streets would be configured. Basically a schematic that you could take to a developer, the cost of everything, and say, okay, this is our proposal, this is what we want to do, do you want to be a part of this?
So, you got nearly to my question. So, they would decide, or would the city decide, or would we decide what type of housing, what type of expenses? We want a certain type of housing in this area. Who gets to decide that?
They would involve the city staff, city stakeholders, including this board, including representatives from the Industrial Foundation, and actually have public meeting for the public to come in and decide. The city has final say on where things are going to be within that.
So a part of it could be for more expensive homes, bigger lots.
Absolutely.
Part of it could be for smaller
Absolutely.
homes, smaller lots.
They're functioning as the planners. We direct the planners as to what we want where.
Okay.
So I saw a number of times in here it references the client,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of like to Don's question.
Who technically is the client?
Who technically is the client, right? Let's
Yeah.
suppose someone is like, well, I want more park, I want more ponds, I want more walkways, I want a music center, I want an event center. And someone else is like, well, no, the people on the council, maybe they're thinking, well, maybe we want more homes. Let's do it all in homes and more tax dollars there. And someone else is like, well, we need more. Who's the client? Who, because we're sharing the cost 3 ways, but
Who has final say?
who gets to
Yeah.
direct?
So he, like you said, with the stakeholders and us and council and everything else, but eventually there has to be a point man, a point per group or whatever. Who would be that client, I guess is the question. I was wondering the same thing, like, I don't understand who the client is ultimately gonna be, because you can't just have this whole group. I mean, they get to have some input, I guess, but ultimately it gets broke down. Here's what the consensus in. Who does that go to, and who is considered the
And-
go-to?
And we've already paid for different rounds of focus groups over the years to have some ideas.
Yeah,
But that was for the strategic plan. This takes that strategic plan and breaks it down to what it actually is going to look like, to make it a developable parcel of property.
Well, I just mean EDC, city council, over the years,
Yeah.
there's been different collaborations and polling, and what does everyone want more of, and not everyone's on the same page, which brings us to the client question.
Well, okay, I guess then my question to this board, and I guess to the Industrial Foundation, would be then, would the EDC want representation on a committee of 3 members, 1 Industrial Foundation, 1 EDC, and 1 city council member, to be the client with the final up or down, yay or nay? Because if that's the case, then that's what we can make it happen. I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's asking necessarily I don't think it's a matter of asking for this EDC to be the client or just city council.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, something like that does sound fair, and I'm not looking necessarily, I wanted everything to be fair, I guess, but just who would that client be? It just, refers to it.
I'm not worried about my voice so much being heard, but I was just thinking, we could vote to fund something and then figure out later that, it's this person or it's this group. It's
Yeah,
just-
I hear you 100%.
My interest in it would be, I would like to hear somebody like this group or whoever lay out 3 or 4 different type of plans and say, if you do more upscale, more square footage, brick and mortar, homes, you could lay it out this way, or you could lay it out with, 1,500 square foot homes, have more of them, or you could do this section this way and that, it just seems like to me if it ever gets going, you need to have a really good plan on what's gonna sell the quickest.
Absolutely.
And what's gonna, be the tax base and all that kind of stuff, but, it could be a really pretty area, and I don't mean this, I'm not saying we shouldn't have all types of housing, but you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
There's gotta be some restrictions on it, that it's actually if we're gonna curb and gutter streets, and it's gonna be nice, then it needs to be nice. And that's what I don't know who gets to decide that, or, but if they could lay out 2 or 3 or 4 different types of, you could divide it this way and have this type home, you could divide it this, you could have this section for a little bit different size homes, something, I don't know, that's a lot to think about, but to me it's important. I think that lots would sell and do better, obviously, if you
Yeah.
if you tailor them a certain way.
And that, what y'all are saying, I agree with 100%, and that was kind of why, I felt like this would be a good one to bring to y'all as a potential cost share. The city could afford the $45,000 to do the whole thing by themselves, but if the city does that, then the city council's gonna have the final
Have the
say.
say.
And I didn't necessarily wanted that, because I wanted different views, and I wanted those views to come from y'all, but also from representatives on the Industrial Foundation.
because they're the ones, the Industrial Foundation actually floated the first plan for development of that site.
North
Year-
Corridor?
Yeah, years ago, 10 years ago. Jeff probably can tell me better, but that's been out there for years. And so I actually wanted y'all's to weigh in on that. As far as working out how those final decisions are made, I think that we could probably work through that, pretty easily. I didn't want this just to be a city thing, because it's not that I don't think that they have the capacity to do that. I just would like it to be a broader representation.
Yeah, I would like to see one from each group probably be involved on the decision, especially if all three end up putting in on it. I think that would help. My question's kind of off, I wouldn't say off topic. Where are we at on purchasing the land, the Rutherford land? Where are we at on that?
The status of that right now is that we have informed Ricky that Brad has talked to Ricky and told Ricky that we are very interested in it, and that we would like him to kind of get back with us after he has talked to his family again to get us some firm prices on the land. Now, I haven't talked to Brad in the last couple of weeks about it, but that was about a month ago, that's where we were at. And I don't know if he's heard back from Ricky or not, but I'll check with him.
And Ricky controls what is left to be purchased?
He is
Or most of what's left?
most of what's left to be purchased. There's actually only one parcel that isn't part of the Rutherford family holdings. And that parcel is owned by a Hispanic family that,
Wanted to sell, but didn't want to sell.
yeah.
That one?
And-
Wanted to sell, but then didn't want to sell.
Right, and they may be willing to sell again, especially if everything else is purchased around it. But Ricky was the one that approached us originally and said, I want to sell this property. So we're just waiting on him to get with his family members, and I think he has 2 sisters and a son that are part of this. I
So-
think we picked up the cousins and stuff, or brothers, already.
So my question certainly isn't to slow anything down, because I'd like to speed it up. See, Robert?
See, thank y'all.
All right.
I remember a couple meetings last year in executive session, and the feeling was, let's hurry up and secure these parcels that we need, and to follow up with what you said. We could spend $45,000 without securing the parcel, and I think we all know that we've seen stuff in this county and even in the city. We've seen construction start, and we're like, whoa, wait, what are they putting there? Right? I mean, stuff moves fast, and it can happen really quick that people start buying stuff, right out from under us, and so I certainly don't want to slow down a housing project. In fact, I want to speed it up. I'd like to do whatever we needed to do to secure that, because it seems logical that we want to progress with all of these necessary steps at the same time, or all together, but is there an order? Do we need to do one before the other?
My thinking, and this is my opinion, and this is why I think we need to go ahead and pull the trigger on this part of it, is that we've crunched the numbers, and we've kind of talked about what the Industrial Foundation could possibly pay right now, and possibly what the EDC could pay to secure more property. Between the two of us, we're probably looking at 400,000. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been in part of these conversations. 450,000. There's probably $1.5 million worth of property values in that 250 acres. So my thinking on this part of it is that we don't have that $1.5 million. I mean, so how are we going to generate the money to be able to secure that? If we could get an option from the Rutherfords to have that, and then we get this plan in place, maybe we can coax a developer to come in and help fund the purchase of the remaining amount based on the
an
Work with
option
them.
with Rutherford, kind of like a,
First right of refusal.
right.
That's my thinking on
Be,
this
because I
process.
feel like if we could combine the acreage, now obviously I'm not saying that we go into contract with a realtor or something to sell this prop, but I'm just saying, just getting it out there, like on Zillow or Realtor.com, 250 acres, you know, school district frontage, you know, interstate frontage, etc. I know that investors check Zillow and Realtor.com maybe even before they have finished their first cup of coffee. You know, my wife's a realtor, and I can't tell you how many times that an investment, you know, commercial type property or something, or large acreage hits the market, and it's not even her listing, and clients call her the day it posts, hours after it posts, saying, "I want to see that." All right, I mean, there's a lot of exposure, and you don't have to have a realtor, you don't have to be contracted, you know, to have something on the MLS just to have it on one of those sites. We don't even have to entirely own it, maybe necessarily, to kind of promote it right out there where everyone looks at it. Same thing with the lake, you know, lake frontage in city limits. You know, these would be incredibly valuable properties that, like I said, these people look at first thing every morning. You know, and they even have reminders, you know, alerts that hit their phone. You know, especially if it's over a certain acreage. You know, but if we could have something tying it up in some sort of lease, some sort of option, you know, for that, I think that we don't necessarily have to buy it. I'm open to buying these properties and whatever sort of borrowing or leverage we have to use to acquire them or secure that too. But I think if you get, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, a 250 acre place, you know,
Yeah.
School district frontage, interstate frontage, but there's not any places like that on the MLS. You know, investors know that they could probably negotiate and work something like that out, but that's a lot of legwork. You know, they'd have to just. But yeah, I'm totally with you on if they could give us some sort of option, or lease, or something. Lease option to buy.
Yeah.
You know, even just a lease option to buy would, you know, could maybe allow it. They get a little something, doesn't cost a whole lot. Me and Don and Mark will run cattle on it. No, just kidding. But
Yeah.
but that might be a legal way to tie it up, you know, to allow this to materialize.
All right. I'm going to get back to the Peg Dawson proposal real quick. I've let this be known, obviously, for years now, my disdain for consultants, period. I can stomach it a lot better when we've got partners, being if industrial will partner with us as well. I guess the one thing that I really don't like about this thing, though, is when I look at it, I've grown through the years, I've shared this with others, that I find that I get screwed on hourly jobs versus tell me how much it's going to cost and you work within your own parameters of what it is that I'm going to get. And you tell me what I'm going to get for X amount of dollars versus this contract is really, if you'll read it, it's open. They say 31,000, basically approximately, we hope 31,000. So you may be coming back to all of us, council included, and saying, wait a minute, they've gone over because they have some guys that are $180 an hour employees and some that are $400 employees, and they had to use more of the $400 employees, so it's X now. And all the way from, I've shared this with others too, from I used to hire these kids to come help fix my fence. And they'd say, I'll do it for $12, $15 an hour. Well, then I go out there and they're on their phone and everything else, and finally came to the realization that no, you see how much fence I need done, give me a price. And I've started learning that in the corporate world as well, that this openly hourly deal always seemed to go over. I hate that, to where I would much rather the contract say it's going to be $31,000, because like he said, there's going to be a lot of ideas and probably a lot of good ideas, and I'd like to see 3 different ways of, maybe doing the land like this, property like this, give us 3 different ones and say it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Now go work within those parameters. And I'm willing to be as fair as anybody, but at the same token, I don't want them coming back to me on an open-ended contract, which is what that is, and possibly come back and say, hey,
And we'd be pretty locked
it's
in.
a run over, So, like I said, I do have disdain for consultants, but that goes all the way back to my corporate days. I hate it when we get these things done and it doesn't seem like there's a push afterwards. Where's the, who pushes this in front of some contractors? Who pushes this in front of developers and stuff like that that would be interested? We get to a point where we have these real pretty pictures, and I have to say that some of them come across as real pretty. It's just that where do I go from there? I'll just go ahead and say I'll support this because of the partners that we have, and I don't want to be a block to that. And if they're okay to spend that kind of money, I'm okay too. I just want to let it be known publicly that I hate the open-ended part of this, and that I'd like to know what I'm getting. If it was $31,000 and you lock it in at $31,000, and if you have your overages, then you have your overages. That's kind of the way a lot of developers have to work themselves, is they know where their number is, and if they have overages, then they got to eat them, which that's why they stay tight within that agreement, so.
Well, I think we
Anyway,
can
that's-
handle this two ways, one of 2 ways. We could say, we will participate at $15,000, not to exceed $15,000, or I can go back to them and say, change the contract to where it says, project costs $14,000 for the lake, $31,000 for the 250 acres. I can do either one, whichever one y'all want to do.
Either one, I would like to see something that's a little more finite, I guess is all I'm saying.
And then I would like to know, what are they exactly expecting to do? Do they just see that they're gonna lay out one plan the way they see it? Or do we have an option to say, can you give us more than one? Within that cost, can we have more than one layout as far as plat and sizes and homes and, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering what's in their head right now without having been asked to do any specific type of plan.
Gotcha.
And I would think that I would think that we could, with further defining who the client is, maybe through a joint group, and communicating the desires and needs, that I would imagine that they could share some very affordable renderings, just that don't cost more than a couple $100 a piece to put together, right? Of just a very rough layout, without precise measurements, without actual being a legal plot map, or and everything, and then we could say, yeah, that's what we had in mind, and then we wouldn't maybe need as many full versions
Yeah.
created, if we
Yeah.
get the rough draft.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this, they'll give you 2 initial schematics is what they're calling it, and they give you 1 final. So during that 2 initials, when we all have all the conversations, it mentions client in there. It's not actual platting, but they do it in AutoCAD, where you can basically take it from there and then get it platted someplace. I mean, you still gotta go to a surveyor to get it platted and approval. So that's what it says in here under the schematic
Yeah.
plotting, just so 2 initial plans.
So as is right now, to move this process along, all we're doing is approving the Pape Dawson project proposal. But what we're doing is, and I know that we can't do this now, but all we're doing is, as this board is asking for perhaps a more finite pricing level, and what else? Just the opportunity to see other plats and stuff like that, but
And some group, you know,
and
three-party
participation in a three. I
participation.
think that's a fantastic idea, and then we'll decide amongst ourselves who will do that. It's certainly not going to be me. I can raise my hand to he's built buildings. He's done all kinds of stuff. This Hofstetler guy. So I think he might be the perfect guy for
And-
that.
Barnes?
Barnes,
You
yeah,
got
he's
Tim
been
Barnes,
built barns and all kinds of things. But I think
Barbed
that's
wire
a tremendous
fence.
idea. I know that's not what
Chicken
we're,
coops.
I know that's, just so this board knows, that's not what we're voting on today. We're just voting to participate in this project. But that's
Yeah.
what we would like for you to carry on as far as you progress with the proposal and the agreement with them.
I think what we'll do then,
Well, we can stipulate that
yeah,
in our agreement today.
just
in our-
just say that it's approved contingent on, more defined product outcomes, okay, and everything else that y'all have said.
And with three groups, I don't think it's, one person, two, three people. I don't think,
And
even if you had two or three people per group, that's still not that big of a group.
No.
It's not a mess.
And what I really, listening to y'all, is what I really feel like is maybe beneficial is to have them come in and say, okay, this is the proposal, this is what we're saying, let you shoot the questions to them, and have them define the outcomes at that time, revise the proposal, get it back to us for final approval.
I think that's a good idea.
But I would like to do that with a joint meeting of representatives of the council, the Industrial Foundation, and the EDC, if that would be possible, even if it's not a full board.
I would be open to that.
I think that way everybody feels comfortable.
And like Mark voiced his concern with, what'd you call 'em? Just analysis or analysts?
Consultants.
Consultants.
Yeah.
You one-up me. I'm pretty skeptical too. But it by joining in that, I like that it's brought to us to give us a hand in it.
I think it's also important that you also make AKA KSA too, because we've had good luck with KSA, and if they are part of KSA.
They purchased KSA.
Oh, they did. Oh gosh.
They purchased several small.
Did all our guys go with them?
Yep. Every one of them. Lanny works for them.
Good. I'll be dang.
Uh,
Good.
He got a big buyout.
Even better. Oh, he didn't take the buy?
He was a principal, and therefore they had, when they bought the company, all the principals got
Oh, good.
cash.
And he still stayed.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
One other thing that I wanted to add, the last thing that I wanted to add, because I can see this being a big issue. The last time we had, I think it was 2 years ago maybe, when we were doing the consultants were here, and we were talking about all the things that we wanted to see, and we talked about an event center, and how pivotal that can be. We talked about the possibility of covering something like the rodeo arena, where there could be music or boat shows, and they might have just been being very nice, but they seemed to really like that idea, and it seemed like everyone that we talked to liked that idea. But that rodeo arena sits on the City Lake property, and I can tell you right now, I don't think anyone on this board or the city council board wants any of the smoke that'll come from doing away with that rodeo arena and even the sheriff's posse rodeo arena without a home. I don't think anyone wants to defend that on Facebook. You've got deputies and sheriffs and cops and I mean, you have everyone in town on that sheriff's posse. And if we do up a plan that moves that arena, nobody wants that smoke. Nobody wants to be on the other end of that on Facebook.
This, I don't think, is the time for that necessarily, because that's gonna be in the process of when we do start talking to them, but I
Well-
agree totally with you from the standpoint that, and I don't care about the smoke, I'm tired of smoke and all that kind of crap, but the fact is, this town needs a rodeo arena, and there has to be a concrete, but this is what has to be relayed to them when we sit down and we talk about the planning of it and everything else, but it's gotta be hardcore relayed to them, and I think you'll have plenty of people that do that. If there is a plan to remove that rodeo arena, there has to be a concrete plan in place for another rodeo arena, and where that would be and how that would be, because otherwise, that rodeo arena cannot be removed before that happens.
Absolutely.
And that's all, and I'm,
FFA projects and all
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
and I'm really just bringing it up, not because we can solve it tonight, but because kind of like we're talking about locking in a lease on Rutherford land in order to spend this kind of money on land that we don't control yet. If the plan that these three bodies get together and want to work on entails moving that, well then, I think we would need to also be simultaneously working pretty quick on where we put an event center that doubles as a just because I'm wearing a cowboy hat, I'm not thinking so much about rodeo. I am thinking about rodeo, but I'm thinking about the event center.
It needs to be a
capabilities.
covered arena.
And so that would have to be a very quick and simultaneous effort. You know, because we could, the lake project can last a long time. Meaning, it can take a long time. But the news about the rodeo arena being removed before it has a home will take a day. Right? So I'm just getting that on everyone's minds that this may need to be our simultaneous effort.
I don't think you're gonna have any argument about that when the time comes, believe me. We're in cahoots, and you keep wanting to refer to rodeo arena. I think your selling point, kind of the way that we moved the school bonds, we talked about safety and stuff like that as opposed to the money they were gonna spend. So when the bond came back, it was all about safety, and it passed resoundingly. Well, on the rodeo arena, it's not so much the rodeo, it's the FFAs and the FFA projects and the things that rodeo arena lends to those kids and things of that nature.
Right.
That, I think, even sells more so than the rodeo
It-
portion of it.
My point exactly, man. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about events, I'm thinking about
Yeah.
FFA shows, I'm thinking about music.
So let's move this forward. We're gonna consider the Pap Dawson proposal we would like to have, with the caveat of a little bit more of a finite pricing. In other words, I don't wanna see necessarily any exuberant overages or anything like that. That I would like to see that they can get this project done within the amount of money that we're gonna be spending doing it as a team. Also, as part of that, as to be referred to as the client, I'd like the client to be chosen, obviously at a later date from now, but a caveat within that the client be considered a three-party source, one from each of the people that are making that contribution, being City Council, EDC, and Industrial Foundation, and each one of those organizations are responsible for picking their representative to be that three-person client. What else did I need to cover? Finite pricing, representation. That it? Let's cover it from there. So I'm looking for a motion to approve with those additions to this. My motion is to approve the
Pape.
We used to work with a guy named
Pappy.
Pap.
Pappy.
We used to work with a guy named Pap. I'm used to Pap. But anyway, Pappy Dawson proposal. An approval for the Pappy Dawson approval with the amendments that I just included on this and to go ahead and push this forward with our contribution of $15,000 and no more until we get something like, something in writing. This board can come back and amend that if we need to. If we find out that they're not sure that they can approve it to that, but we can discuss that at a later date. But for right now, we're giving $15,000 and with those amendments, and I'm looking for a motion for approval to do so.
If somebody can make that concise, I move that we do that. I don't know. Are you able to make that very concise?
I'll second that motion.
Did I get a first?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, okay.
She can make it more concise.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. About that.
Thank you.
That took a little bit of time, but we got her done. Consider application for existing business structure incentive for the Spot Pizza and Pub for the business located at 114 Houston Street, Mount Vernon, Texas, 7547. I hope that everybody got their questions answered directly from Mr. Rosales. I will just go ahead and say that when he came to us for the painting and the re-facade of the Longhorn Tire and all, we approved it knowing what a considerably good businessman he has been to this community, and he continues to press on to make one of our restaurants better. And so I personally have got all my questions answered where it relates to it, and I would have no problem passing what he's looking for. What exactly are we looking at? Are we specifically looking at passing?
Well,
28,000 and
GW wanted to know what percentage. We really don't have a percentage, you know.
we're working from 28,000 though, right?
Yeah, approximately 27,000, 26,800.
Okay.
860 or something like that. You know, going back out to Dr. Letourneau's project out here, the original estimate was going to be $150,000, and you approved $50,000. So that's a third. This one, significantly less. You know, if you wanted to do 50%, you can do whatever you want to. You have the money to be able to do it. There's really no there's nothing in writing that says you're limited to this amount.
How much cash are we sitting on?
About 847,000 was the last time I looked last week.
Well, going back on that, ask then, just real quickly, and it's a little bit off subject. How did you come to the idea that as a combined entities that with us along with, was it Industrial Foundation?
Yes, sir.
That you came up with $400,000 that we could spend on real estate, just out of curiosity?
That was just discussions that we've had at the Industrial Foundation and what I thought you guys might be comfortable with. The
Okay.
EDC, no commitments.
Okay, so more of a, because I think that this board would be ecstatic to jump into something like that if it helped secure our long-term mission here, you know, but anyway, I just wondered where that number came from. So roughly, let's just go off of then, can we go off of 27,000 or make it a round number of 26? Maybe that'd be easier. Let's go off of 26. So how do you want to pursue that? Mr. Sharp, any comments?
Well, it's not a huge amount.
You're about
but
to time out. I'm just kidding.
perhaps you got all your words in. I don't know. Do we need to think about? I hate this word of precedent.
Fairness.
You know, do we have to think about whether or not we set a new standard? Certainly don't want to have set a standard of paying 100%. You know,
I don't think any of us.
Or a specific number.
yeah.
You could, we could just say we don't necessarily go, "Oh, I don't know, I'm like you, it gets a little tricky. We've got another one you can look at here in a minute, but we kicked in a little here and there for people, but
And I used to be under the impression that we had a limit. Well, I guess it wasn't a legal limit, but it was precedent.
And I looked through all of the minutes, all the action, and I have never found that, because Brad asked me the same question. He said at one time it was $30,000, and I could not find it anywhere. And I did that before we did Laterno's, Latortu, rather.
yeah, Paterno down in
Yeah,
Longview.
it's down Longview.
We're still giving money that way.
The
No,
phone
I'm
number
done.
is-
Thank you.
The phone number out there is, because every time I call them, I say, is this 8222 for Latortu? Because that's his number, 53782. Have I reached 8222 for Latortu?
Okay, that's a good way to remember
That's
it.
the way you can remember it. see?
Thank you.
That's
You won't say
hilarious.
Laterno anymore.
No, that's a good one.
That's funny.
So he's wanting about 26 total?
But that's what it cost. You know,
Yeah.
He'd love to have 26, but I don't think, I mean, I'm thinking around just a flat rate of 8,500 or something like that. That's roughly a third. I don't know, just, I mean, without splitting hairs.
I was thinking 10 just to not fit, but I'm good with 8,500.
Each over here.
Yeah, well,
I'm good with 8,500.
you won the chicklets. 8,500, okay?
I'm good.
That's a pretty good lead off of a $26,000.
Yeah, that's a third,
Yeah.
roughly.
I'd take it myself.
Yeah.
You good with that? All right. I'm looking for a motion
I'll make a motion.
to approve the proposal from Spot Pizza and Pub, business located at 114 Houston Street, Mount Vernon, Texas, 75457, for assistance with an air conditioning unit that of $8,500 from this board. So you're sticking with your your motion?
Yep.
I need a second.
Second?
Everybody say aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Discussion items. Discussion regarding, what does that say? Oh, revisions to current incentive application. Good gosh. Wow, that one got small on me real quick. Yeah, discussion regarding revision to current incentive applications. Go.
Okay, Angie, could you click on number 3 down there?
Big screen.
Bring it up. Okay, this is the existing application, which has been around longer than me, and it has basically 3 different options. It has existing business structure assistance, it has job creation, and it has rental assistance. We have primarily used rental assistance in this application and existing business structure assistance. The application itself is probably outdated in a lot of ways. It isn't very clear in what's expected and the types of incentives that it gives. We have never done a job creation incentive because if you look through that, nobody really can meet that. So about 2 months ago, or maybe 3 now, I sent you all a draft proposal for a new Economic Development Corporation Matching Grants Program application, a different incentive application. If you go ahead and scroll that down, and just as an idea for y'all to look at, and I'm bringing it back to you tonight as we're in a meeting for y'all to look at, and it's changed everything pretty dramatically. Go ahead and scroll down, and this provides, you can stop there, this provides basically four different types of program. Now, Parks and Recreation program has been omitted from that. It's no longer part of that table of contents. But the ones that do exist are the facade program, the demolition program, the downtown redevelopment program, and then there is one that is referred to as larger scale commercial and industrial development. Larger scale commercial and industrial development would include, is a catch-all, and that would include what currently is now an existing business incentive program, what we just did for Robert, but it would also include, the larger scale would also include if Geoframe Energy came to the Industrial Foundation and said that I need $100,000 to close a deal on a particular piece of equipment. Would y'all participate in this? Okay, I mean, and they need this equipment for the program to get started. So it's not an existing, but it is a future business. So on the new application, we basically broke it down into those particular categories. The facade program basically covers any place within the city limits, and it covers everything that is associated with improvements to any building facade up to a $5,000 maximum. Okay, the application pretty much clearly delineates any type of requirements that they might have. The demolition program also covers any particular area of the city, and it will reimburse applicants for 50% of the eligible costs for demolition, as long as the maximum reimbursement does not go above $10,000. So if there's a person that wants to, for instance, if somebody came in and said, I want to buy the lot that the Purple Tiger Cafe is on, but I need that building demolished, and that building's going to cost me $50,000 to demolish before I invest $200,000 in a new strip center on that lot. Can you provide assistance? Well, under this program, it could provide up to $10,000 off of that $50,000 demolition cost. So that's one area that the EDC has never addressed before, but demolition costs can be quite cost prohibitive, especially if there's abatement issues that are associated with that for asbestos and other type of contaminants. The downtown redevelopment program is targeted specifically towards downtown businesses, and it covers a great deal of projects for investment in downtown buildings. The downtown redevelopment program is got a maximum reimbursement of $15,000, and that is if somebody that wants to come in and take a building that is currently vacant or that does not have, okay, I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say that the Genealogy Society said, you know, we don't want these buildings anymore. Somebody can buy them. They sell the buildings to somebody wants to put some type of retail business in those buildings. They go into those buildings and say, well, it's going to cost, you know, $150,000, $200,000 to do what we want to do to make these retail establishments. This particular program is specifically for the downtown area, and it will provide up to $15,000 to the owner of that building for use, whether it be on the facade, whether it be in HVAC, whether it be flooring, whatever the case might be. But it's cash to them up to $15,000 for downtown redevelopment activities. And that includes anything structural or anything else. The new application also has the graduated rental assistance, because I think that is one of the programs that has been a hallmark of the EDC, and we've done extremely well with it. We've done it for the loading dock. We're still doing it for big dogs, and it's been great. We've done it for several of the other the stores down here, and I think it's a great project to do.
And this is the part that was highlighted that we've removed. We were talking about the part that was highlighted that had been struck out, GW, is that it's silly to say that they can only have 25% at this time, or to limit the board's ability to say how they get the rental assistance. Whether it's 25% for the first, it's a 12-month program, whether it's 25% for the first quarter, 50% for the next one, 25%, the board should have the discretion on how they want to do that. So that we've struck that. So, and then the final one is the industrial and commercial large-scale development program, and that is where they fill out the application, they come in, they sit down with the city, with the EDC and say, this is my project, these are the project costs, whether it's a downtown existing business like the Spot, or if it is Duke's would fall under this, or Geoframe would fall under this. They would come in and say, this is what it's going to cost, this is where I need you to come in and close the gap. This is all this application does. It breaks it down in those particular areas. It provides more clarity as far as what the applicant has to provide. It also protects the city in that, for instance, on graduated rental assistance or any other kind of assistance, they have to be current on city taxes, they have to be current on city water bills, they have to have water on, so on and so forth, and have which also protects the city. So that's basically the changes. No decision is necessary tonight. I wanted y'all to hear from me what the changes were, and I would like y'all to go take it home again and look at it, and then at the next meeting, maybe we can actually vote on it to change it. And once y'all change it, this isn't something that the council has to change. This is something that y'all have to change. You know, in the other application, they were required to meet with the Small Business Administration out of ENTDC to do a business plan and stuff like, which is ridiculous. You know, I don't need Robert Rosales spending his time talking to somebody that doesn't know half as much about business as he does. So that's what this is about. Any questions on that?
None for me.
Okay.
Simple.
Okay, the next discussion item is the Purple Tiger EDC assistance application. Miss Tina has, you know, we gave her some assistance on her sign. There's an issue. It's a small footprint for that building. The restrooms in that building are right off the dining room and right off the kitchen. And there's been some issues with the restrooms and sewer gas seeping back into the restaurant, making the food less palatable than normal. So she obtained some estimates from contractors on what it would cost to reconfigure the restrooms and to add on to the building. Those estimates run from a low end of about $90,000 up to a high end of $260,000.
That's a huge range.
It's a huge range, and you have to kick out the low end, because I would not recommend that particular contractor. Because the city's had experience with that particular contractor, and it hasn't been really great. So you're looking at one was like $160,000, the high was like $260,000. Now, I'm bringing this out to y'all for discussion and for consideration, for y'all to look at that. The taxable valuation of that property as it stands right now is $186,000 for 2026. That's the land and the building. If we put in another $160,000, is that going to be y'all see where I'm going on this. The other part of this is that we're not going to fund the entire thing, so therefore she's going to have to borrow a good portion of that. And my
other concern on that is looking at the numbers that she's proposing and actually talking to her about this over multiple conversations. I don't know if the cash flow. I don't know if the debt service can be cash flow there. So I'm throwing this out to y'all because I've talked to her a little bit about that, and I've expressed kind of some of my concerns, but I said that, you know, ultimately it's a board decision. We don't need to make a decision tonight. I just think it's probably good if y'all look at this and give me some guidance on how we want to approach this with her.
They're literally adding on to that building.
They're gonna have to.
I
But
mean,
it would
that's
be
what these quotes
just-
include, is an add-on.
The add-on is strictly bathrooms?
Bathrooms and expansion, a little bit of storage for the kitchen.
So no,
And that is a very cramped space.
so no extra capacity to increase revenue.
And the last time I talked to her, you know, business was not great.
I second that because I've heard as well, so. Unless anybody has any other questions, you got any more questions? You got any more questions? So the application is on file now. And we are addressing this in our next meeting then as something to not only, through public hearing and allowing her to, I guess, do her thing, and then we can consider it as well next meeting. I would encourage this board to look over that application and think this through thoroughly, because she doesn't take no for an answer very well. I'll just give you fair warning. It's just, it's,
One of her strongest qualities is
Persistence?
persistence.
absolutely like nobody you've ever seen.
Yeah. I can attest to that as well.
She has Mark and I on speed dial.
Yeah, she does.
I mean, it just seems like they could get a bathroom moved and solve maybe this bathroom issue more affordably. It's such a big job on $180,000 building.
Like you said, then the tax issue, it's gonna up your tax bill.
It probably won't change their tax bill much because their square footage won't change much, right? Meaning it won't.
How's the appraisal district look at that, though? Do they say you
Yeah,
had that
It's
much
an
improvement?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about the square footage, they just look at it.
I don't know how they find out what they find out.
They seem to find out a lot of
They
things.
do.
I don't know how they find out.
Drones or something.
I don't know.
They found an extra 1,200 foot in my house that wasn't there. So it was
Yeah, that's,
we got it resolved though, so that is.
I have it upstairs, and I was like, oh, cool. I didn't know I had it upstairs.
Yeah, look the application over, and I'm sure she'll be here next week, and we can have the hard discussion with her. Let her tell us. That's all we can do. And we'll have to decide from there. You good with that?
and then, well, before then, I mean, would it, if we do, it would be considered on a, kinda like we did a while ago, a percentage?
Yeah, but, well, I'm fearful that the percentage amount that we would, again, you know what, I'm gonna let her tell us, do your homework on the application, and, I don't think the percentage amount that we would be willing to do based on that tall a number is probably gonna be something that's gonna be very acceptable, if we're even willing to do that. So,
Acceptable for us or
For
for
her.
them?
for her.
Okay.
I think she's hoping that we really step up to the plate here, and I'll leave it at that. You good? I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
We are officially adjourned. Thank you.